check, 1, 2.
Go! Curious about real estate? Yes! Then you've come to the right place. Get the knowledge you need, get over the fear, and get started. This is the Michael Quarles Real Estate Show with your host, Michael Quarles.
Hello, everybody. Michael Quarles with the Michael Quarles Real Estate Show. Today we have podcast episode 290. It is 5 questions sent in, and remember, if you have a question, send it to support@michaelquarles.com, and we will get them asked and answered. Here we go. Question number 1. Should I get title insurance if I have an attorney's opinion that the title is legitimately clean? Same owner for the last 30 years, no liens, abstracts. Abstract is up to date. I always say yes. I never want to break a title insurance chain. Now, is it required? No. Title insurance isn't required. It's just a luxury. You know, it's insurance. It's like fire insurance, health insurance, vehicle insurance. It's just an add-on. That's all it is. However, I always want to have it. I never want to break the chain of title. I never want, when I go to sell something, an issue with selling it because I broke title. And let's face it, guys and gals, when I buy title insurance on the purchase, so I'm buying the property to resell, I'm going to get a rider. My rider is going to cost me 10% more than the original title insurance policy. So let's assume for a second I pay $500 for title insurance. My rider is going to cost me $50. That title insurance policy, let's say that's for a $50,000 house that I'm going to resell for $100,000. Because I bought the rider, if I subsequently sell it within the period that the rider is enforced or enforceable, I'm only going to pay the increase in value of title insurance. So let's assume I buy that $50,000 house and I'm selling it for $100,000. When I go to sell it, instead of buying a $100,000 insurance policy, because all buyers are going to ask for an insurance policy, all lenders are going to ask for an insurance policy. Instead of buying it for $100,000 or based upon $100,000 value, I'm only going to buy it for the additional $50,000. The $50,000 from what I paid for $50,000 in insurance originally, and now I'm only going to add another $50,000. Now, if I didn't buy the rider that cost me 10% more at purchase, I'm going to have to buy the original insurance for $50,000 and the new insurance on resale for $100,000. So my cost of insurance is considerably more because I didn't buy the rider. So when you look at some of those things, the cost of the insurance and keeping the insurance in place, the title insurance in place, not breaking the chain, is really a nominal fee. And it gets you so much more down the road, because what happens is, let's assume for a second your attorney didn't pick something up. Let's assume for a second there was a fraud event that went on and they didn't pick it up. No one knew about it. Well, here you are, you're sitting down here, you're trying to resell this property. You can't resell it because you didn't get title insurance without mitigating or taking care of whatever issue is against the property. So you got to be really conscientious of that. I absolutely know of situations where people have sold property to somebody that they did not own. People talk about identity theft all the time. Well, through identity theft, you can actually sell a piece of property when you assume that person's identity. If they own a piece of property, they can sell it because everybody assumes that this seller is the legitimate seller. They're not. They're a criminal. However, without title insurance on that property at that sale, boy, whoever bought it would be in tough luck, because the original legitimate owner could rescind that deed and it'd be a horrible mess. With title insurance, that's what title insurance is for. So I always think you should have it. So in my opinion, always keep title insurance. Question number 2. I want to know if I have a $100,000 house under contract for $45,000, congratulations, and a cash buyer wants to buy it for $55,000, but I have a buyer with a conventional loan wants it for $60,000. How do I wholesale this deal to the buyer with the conventional loan? Well, a wholesale deal means you're implying, because you say wholesale, that you're buying the property for $45,000, and then you're recording a deed that says that you own the property, and then because you're wanting to sell it to a traditional buyer with a conventional loan, you're going to have to honor the traditional conventional lender's requirements. So if they say, hey, you have to own the property for 90 days, you got to be on title for 90 days. That makes that cash buyer at $55,000 sometimes much better, a bottom line dollar much better. But now in this case, I think you actually mean assigning. So you're not actually wholesaling it, which is taking title. You're selling the piece of paper. And in this case, you'd have a substitution of buyer through escrow, and a pretty simple thing, not a hard thing at all. So in fact, if you use my agreement, and you can download it online, everybody can do it, it's free. It actually has a clause in there that says this contract may be assignable. And so you just do substitution of buyer, and pretty simple stuff. Now, I would want to get my $15,000 when I substituted the buyer, but a lot of investors who do assigning don't. They don't get paid until their buyer performs. Well, if I'm going to give someone the right to my contract, I don't want to wait for them to perform because I no longer can perform. I've sold my interest. So the moment I sell my interest, I should get the $15,000. Now, you may find in a case like this, it's much easier to do it with a traditional cash buyer. The $5,000 that you're trying to make additionally may not be worth the hassle, and a cash buyer is pretty simple. Great question, though.
Thanks for listening. We'll be right back. Are you running out of leads? It's time you tried Yellow Letters at yellowletters.com. Get motivated seller leads through yellow letters, postcards, zip letters, typed professional letters, greeting cards, door hangers, and business cards. Yellow Letters is a full-service marketing company created with your success in mind. Get the personal attention you need to get your direct mail campaign started and get in touch at yellowletters.com.
And we are back in 3, 2, 1.
Question number 3. In the appointments that Alex has set with the buyer, is this appointment to call them back and do the 2-part seller script? Or is it an appointment to go out and see them? I called the appointment today that I had for 12 o'clock, and the seller thought I was doing everything over the phone. Okay, so this person must be using their call center. Thank you very much for doing that. And what our call center does for folks, for investors, it actually answers the phone, goes through the script. Hi, this is Alex, and do you have a house you're hoping to sell? And it's an 18-question questionnaire, and they go through the questions, and they have all the rebuttals, and they determine if we have a motivated seller, a person that doesn't want to sell a house at all, take me off your list kind of thing, a person who's not ready to sell a house yet. So, 3 categories. And if that person has interest in selling the house, and they've indicated that they want less than 85 cents on the dollar, the as-is dollar of value, then we're going to set an appointment. But the appointment's basically a phone appointment. You're going to call them back to confirm the numbers. You're going to ask them your questions, hear your response, their answers to your questions. Make sure that you hear the trigger words. Trigger words are great things to hear because it helps you put deals together. Here's an example of a trigger word. I'm talking to an absentee owner, which is a person that does not live in the property. If they say something along the lines, I've been renting it, I've been enjoying collecting the monthly rent, I really don't want to sell it because of the rent. Well, I'm going to cause them to understand the value of seller financing because they've been enjoying collecting rent. Or if someone says to me, gosh, I know I'm going to have a big tax burden when I sell this thing. Well, then I'm going to explain to them the advantages of a tax deferred, either an installment sale or a seller carryback. And so I'm always wanting to hear those trigger words, and so I'm going to go through the questionnaire over the phone, and then if I need to, I'm going to set the hard appointment to go knock on the door, step back, look up the street, wait for them to be comfortable opening the door and saying, thank you for inviting me out to buy your house today, is where I'm parked okay. And I'm going to proceed into doing the seller presentation, get a contract signed. However, when we're buying in Texas, and we bought 5 houses yesterday, they were all over the country. And we got them in Louisiana, we got them in Texas, Montana, California, and then I think, somewhere else. We had a good day yesterday, 5 houses. Those, when they're out of area, we can't knock on the front door, so everything's going to be done virtually. So we're going to use our Orion script on the virtual callback, the appointment to buy. We're going to convert that to a 65 cent on the dollar kind of number. We're going to take it from ARV minus repairs, and then there's some calculations and some figures to do there. And then we're going to, ask the tough questions, and is that the least you'll take? And knowing this is how we buy houses, can you see yourself for selling it to us for less? That kind of stuff. You keep asking. Not everybody's going to agree to sell it to you at the sales price you want to buy it at, but that's okay. We're looking for the ones that say yes. We're looking for people that want to sell a house, and our program fits them, and it fits us. It's a win-win situation. Great question. Thank you for asking. Question number 4. After the 2-part script, is that when I set the appointment? Another coaching student. I love it when my coaching students, send in questions, because that means that we're doing something right. They're in the program. Maybe they're not on the Q&A calls. We have a Q&A call on Thursday afternoons, and we have a Q&A call on Tuesday mornings. We have 60 calls a month at the very, very moment. 60 training classes a month. Then we have the one-on-one accountability coach. We have all the modules and audios and videos and all kinds of stuff like that. It's a great program. People are very, very satisfied. I'm happy to hear that too. So, yes, you're going to call them back. You're going to go through the script. You're going to confirm, like I said earlier, that they have a desire to sell. Let's face it, the first 4 questions on an outbound seller script. Did you have a house you're hoping to sell? Is that house currently listed with a real estate professional? What do you think an appraiser would appraise the house for if I sent the appraiser out? And what do you want your walkaway money to be? And is there a loan on the property? So, and of course you ask them certain ways, and you put embedded commands and pace and mimic and positive and negative reinforcement. So there's ways you ask those questions. So it's just not about, rattling off 4 questions. It's important that we, as an example, when you ask a seller what they want to walk away with, the amount that they consider fair, after we take care of all the costs and the mortgage that's against the property, what were you hoping to walk away with? What we call the walkaway money, the amount of money that you're going to put in your pocket at the end of the day. And they give us a figure. They tell us an amount. They say $20,000. Now, the first thing that we want to do as human beings is ask them another question. Make a response. But here's what I want you to do. Anytime you ask someone how much they want for their property from a walkaway perspective, after we take care of the mortgage, and they give you a value, I want you to be quiet. And here's what it sounds like. I waited 8 seconds. It's 1001, 1002. I did that in my brain. I paused for 8 seconds. Normally what you're going to hear from the person on the other end of the phone is, are you still there? Are you, hello? And which is a beautiful question, and the response to that beautiful question, yes, I am. I was just thinking about your answer. So you were wanting $20,000 walk-away money. Ouch. Am I to assume that there's no mortgage on the property? And which makes that $20,000 even worse when there is a mortgage on the property. So it's how we ask the questions. It's not just asking the questions. It's what do we do? Great question, though. Question number 5. In the Q&A today, Michael said we do a CMA before the in-person presentation. If the seller tells Alex they think the house is worth $160, but our CMA only comes out at $150, when do we tell the seller they're wrong? So, because I never want to tell the seller a value. So let's role play this one a little bit. I'm going to do it like you're here with me. I apologize. I know you guys are just listening on a podcast, but here we go. I have an Alex that extracted some information. The seller thinks the house is worth $160. I'm doing my little due diligence, pulling up public record CMAs, MLS CMAs from Realtor database. I'm looking for what I think the house is worth. I'm not looking at the house yet because all I'm doing is doing a CMA, comparative market analysis. But my CMA tells me the 160 is too high. In reality, it's probably somewhere around 150. Now, if on the phone the seller told my Alex that they'd sell that house for $100,000, well, I'm fine. I don't need to have an argument or a conversation with the seller because I know $100,000 on 150 CMA is reasonable. That's fair. Now, if they wanted 110, I probably wouldn't have a conversation either. I'm going to go knock on the door because I'm close enough. I'm only, at 70%, I'm only 5,000 away. At 65%, I'm at 12.5 away. And I can get 12.5 in person all day long. So now, if they wanted 120, thinking it was worth 160, then I have to call them back and have this conversation with them. Ring, ring, ring. Hello. Hi, is this Mike? Yeah, this is Mike. Hi, Mike. This is Mike with I Buy Houses. I have an appointment to buy your house today at 4 o'clock. I was doing a little bit of research on the property before I came out to buy your house today. And I noticed that there were some houses that aren't supporting the $160,000 value that you indicated to Alex that you thought your house was worth. Is that number a number that you were hoping for, or is there another more realistic number that you had in mind of what you thought your house was worth? And they're going to say, no, what do you think it's worth? Oh, I think it's worth 150, or they're going to, whatever. So they're going to ask me. Let's assume for a second they ask me, Mike, I don't know. What do you tell me? I said, I don't really want to throw out numbers because I haven't physically seen your house yet. But I can tell you that there's some numbers that are showing that 160 is somewhat high. Is there another number you had in mind as far as a as-is value number? And let them drop it down. Maybe they're going to come back to me and say, no, well, what do you think it is since you're looking at the data? And again, I'm going to stand fast, and I'm not going to move off of my little perch here of saying I'm not going to give them a price, because I'm not. I haven't seen the house. Now, if someone says, well, I'm not going to talk to you anymore unless you tell me what you think the house is worth, so I'm going to say, you want me to just throw out a number? Well, I don't want you to just throw out a number, they're going to say. I said, because if I just throw out a number, I know one or two things are going to happen. I don't want either one of those to happen, because I want to buy your house today at 4 o'clock. One, if I just throw out a number, the number is going to be so ridiculously low because I don't know anything about your house. I know you know more about it than I do. That you're either going to hang up on me, and I don't want that to happen. I want to buy your house today at 4 o'clock. Or you're going to want to come over here and punch me in the face, and I don't want that to happen either. So knowing that you know more about your house than I'll ever know, what do you think it's worth knowing that the 160 is too much? And let them tell you. And if they don't want to tell you, they're not a seller. Okay? It's kind of like, I can't make anybody sell me their house reasonably. So let's assume for a second you own a house and you don't want to sell it. I can make you sell that house unreasonably. I can make anybody sell their house unreasonably. Oprah Winfrey proved that when she knocked on the door and offered somebody $30 million or $32 million for their house. It wasn't for sale. It was unreasonable. But if you have $1 million house and I offer you $32 million, you'd sell it to me. I know this. But I can't make you reasonably sell it to me. So if I knock on your door and I want to buy your house and you say it's not for sale, and I say, well, I'll give you 65 cents on the dollar, and they shut the door on you. It's not going to happen. But you can take a motivated person who needs to sell that house, who'll say yes. That creates a win-win, a win for them and a win for you. Their win is they get your 65 cents on the dollar, and they get rid of the stress of home ownership. Keep in mind, we're buying stress. We're buying a problem. We're paying a discount for it, but we're still buying one. We're buying a problem that someone else can't solve for themselves or no longer wants to deal with. It's a nuisance. It's like the garage sale item that's just stacking up. At one point, that garage sale item was worth full value. At some point in the life of that thing, it was worth full value. It's no longer worth full value. They're willing to give it away because they know their only other option is to give it to Goodwill or something like that. But you can't take a non-motivated person and get them to sell your house to you. So don't think you can do it. So if you can't do it, if you have a seller that's not cooperating with you, you're okay. You can dismiss it. The last thing you want to say before you dismiss it is thank you for calling in. At this point, it doesn't appear as though your home fits into our business model. But if you know anybody that's looking to sell a house, please let them know about us. We're looking to buy a house pretty much every day. Thanks so much for calling. You have a wonderful day. If things change for you, call us back. Because you want to be nice and polite. You're going to get referrals if you're nice and polite. And you're also going to get them to start thinking about it. The more urgent they become, the more motivated they become, they're going to call you back and say, because we get it all the time. We get it all the time. You called us last month and you said you'd offer us $40,000. Would you take $38,000 for it now? Kind of thing. Or is the $40,000 still a good number? They do it all the time, which is why when you go out to an appointment to buy a house that you don't buy, so you're going to go out to this appointment, you don't buy the house, you don't put your heads together, you can't agree on a price. You have to send them a letter out, and I want you to send a letter out in a self-addressed stamped envelope coming back to you, and the letter is going to be a questionnaire. How did we do? Did we show up on time? Now you're asking them about you. That's okay. Did we show up on time? Did I explain the program? Was I nice and polite? Was there anything I left out? If I didn't buy your house, what do I need to do to actually buy it? That's the question, the answer that we're looking for. Because people will fill out this questionnaire and send it back to you and tell you, gosh, if you would have raised the price $1,000, I would have sold the house to you. Or they'll say, if your offer still stands, will you buy the house? I don't know why they just don't pick up the phone and tell me that. I don't know why they didn't, when I was out there, tell me that. But sometimes people need time and their ability to fill out a form so that they don't have a confrontation, because a lot of people can't deal with confrontation. Negotiation feels like confrontation. It's not, but some people feel like it is. It's like an argument, but what you're doing is you're arguing your point. You're not arguing with somebody, but they think you're arguing with them. No, you're just expressing your point. Now, if you do it correctly with embedded commands, pacing, mimicking, positive, negative reinforcements, and some neurolinguistics, it's going to help a lot more. It's going to work a lot better, but some people just can't handle the confrontation of the argument. I get it. I understand. So have these systems in place that causes you to make more deals happen. Remember, there's this old thing that says if it costs $1 to get someone to buy something from you, it costs a lot less to get them to buy it the second time. So if you like going someplace to get whatever it is, you have a favorite restaurant. Well, that favorite restaurant, they had a cost of new customer capture. They had a cost. It may take you 2 or 3 visits for them to recoup their cost of acquiring a new customer. But they also know what their attrition rate is. They know that a new customer comes in 8.9 times a year, and everything after 2.3 times is profit. Well, they know their numbers. They know and so should you. And you should know that follow-up is much like this customer coming back. Follow-up, you'll get more deals from follow-up than you'll get new deals doing something else. So, that's why we call people back at 15, 30, 60, 90. That's why we do a text out to them at, 15, 30, 60, 90. That's why we continue to mail to them. Even if we've already made them an offer, we continue to mail to them. Because we're priming. We're building this funnel of opportunity. And what we're trying to do is squeeze it, not too tight. Because if you squeeze too tight, you're going to have stuff come out at the bottom of that funnel that you just don't want. So let it just drip out on its own. Force it with gravity. Put a lot in it. Don't squeeze it too tight. Go out and buy some houses, guys and gals. It's been fun. Thank you for letting me have the opportunity to chat with you guys. And if you like the podcast, jump onto iTunes and give me some rankings and reviews. I appreciate it. Talk to you next time. Bye-bye.
Thanks for listening to the Michael Quarles Real Estate Show. Get more info and stay in touch at michaelquarles.com.